Welcome in to DC On Screen, the podcast bringing you news and reviews of the DC Multiverse on film and television since 2015. I am your host, David C. Robertson, and this is another very special emergency episode. Joining me for it, our good friend and patron, Effie Ophelders.
Hi. Today, it seems, is a day for truth. I feel like something happened while I was asleep. I feel like there's an emergency of some kind I missed.
Which is funny. We're on pretty much opposite sides of the world. And you were asleep because it's the normal time for you to be asleep. I was taking a nap.
It worked out that way.
And we both had the same reaction. We both woke up and the world was on fire.
Yeah, I'm trying to tone down my Bird app consumption a bit, and it was a bit quieter that way. I found out because of the notification from Overcast that there was a new Batcast episode, and I was like, well, this title doesn't look good. Yeah. So then I checked Twitter, and then the world turned out to be on fire.
Mm-hmm. Man,
Holy Batcast hit. Wake up.
Holy Batcast hit it quick, too, and I haven't listened to it yet. Yeah. I didn't want to be influenced by their opinions.
I get that. I was sadly already influenced, but no, one of them called it a therapy session in their messaging apps, and I was like, yeah, I feel like I need a therapy session right now.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd call in.
The gut punch that we got tonight, and there is a fair amount of intricacy to discuss in some of the language here, but it does appear that Henry Cavill is officially out as Superman. He is done, and at least as far as the mainstream universe goes.
Yep. And
I think it took me like an hour where I was just like sitting there thinking like, oh God, what is like, am I too tired to keep going now? And I feel like I have that like every couple of weeks with DC, because on its face, to people who don't see who haven't seen the numbers, to people who haven't, who don't have the mind of a creator. Let's say, every fan has that thing where they're like, I would do this, but you know what? You don't.
Yeah, no, that's just I would like to see this because that's my personal fan service I'd prefer. It's not actually something you do.
Me personally, I like to think if they handed me the reins, the first thing I would do is I would just walk in and say, restore the Snyderverse, because I want to see that finish.
Yeah, because I'm already emotionally invested for years now.
Yeah, but at the same time...
Yeah.
I don't know what's exactly happening. That's the thing is, and we still don't know. So let's just get into the statements here. Henry Cavill released a statement about the whole thing on Instagram, and he said, I have just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it's sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October prior to their hire, this news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. For those who have been by my side through the years, we can mourn for a bit, but then we must remember Superman is still around. Everything he stands for still exists, and the examples he sets for us are still there. My turn to wear the cape has passed, but what Superman stands for never will. It's been a fun ride with you all, onwards and upwards. So that sounds pretty definitive.
Yeah.
That sounds
it's clear
very
that he
definitive.
knows a bit more than we do, but it's he's more emotional about it than Gunn made it sound, which we'll probably get to. But I get it. It's sad for him. He was clearly very invested. He was on whatever press tour, I think, in all the homes, and very excited to talk Superman again. And it's crushing for him too, but it's kind of the same way for us when we got that announcement back in October, and we're just like got ripped out from under us once more. It had been silent for a long while, and it was like the weekly will he, won't he, are they gonna hire him again, and we got tired of that. But now, yeah, we had sort of got the closure of no, we're continuing, and we're not.
Yeah, it is just maddening to me a little bit. One, because he did announce, they told him to announce his return in October. We just got a new Henry Cavill bit in Black Adam, but I hate to throw conjecture in, but I'm gonna, because this is my show.
You get to enjoy.
I get to, as long as no one's, if someone starts saying this is news, what I'm saying right now, I'll
you get to be James
like
Gunn and
does.
call them out on Twitter.
Yeah, and exactly 3 people will like it. So, but this makes me feel like Black Adam is not continuing for sure.
Yeah, I get that, because I feel like if they were gonna do a sequel, like, why build a new universe? Like, at that point, you're going to have 3 simultaneous... No, I think this means reboot.
You think it does?
I think it means clear the slate fully, and I think it should.
Do you think there's no... Like, Peacemaker Season 2 is gone? Do you think he's just not going to do that now?
I think that depends, because we're a couple years away from this next Superman entering the stage. We still have a bunch of projects outside of Peacemaker in development, where it's like, if the DCEU, for lack of a better term, the current universe lasts another year, maybe year and a half, until Aquaman and the Flash are all out, maybe Peacemaker is produced within that time frame and season 2 comes out, and otherwise, well, trading in Peacemaker for a Superman project he wrote, like, I'm guessing the guy is not that hurt in terms of getting to do creatively what he wants to do or being paid to do it, because he's fine. Gunn doesn't need much sympathy. He's making some hard decisions, so in terms of some of the harassment, sure, but not in terms of oh no, his Peacemaker show. Like, that's not the big thing in this universe.
No, I mean, it was a hit, but I wasn't suggesting we give him sympathy for losing Peacemaker if that's what's happening.
No.
I was suggesting, like, does it make sense to completely reboot it if you've got a Peacemaker Season 2 that you still need to do, that you still said was safe, that, that you clearly had a lot of, emotion and investment in? But, we don't know what he's doing. Everyone keeps, I keep seeing, like, it's reboot. But, the Flash, we don't know what that was going to do. Like, the Flash, how many reports have we gotten that they're going to, like, take Cavill out? They're going to reboot Superman. They're going to leave certain things, and they're going to get rid of... They could still do any of that. They've got all that footage.
They're going to tinker that movie to hell, even if only the ending. Like, they can reshoot half of it again to fit whatever ending they want to make, or whatever transition to the new universe they want to do. I don't know if they will, because it's already kind of a black hole of money. But I'd hope they take care to make it somewhat seamless. But we don't know that, because we'll get the slate later, hopefully.
Yeah,
I assume.
Which Gunn did have a what is it called? A thread on
That's
Twitter.
The thing.
He says, Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go, which we couldn't be more over the moon about. We'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the new year. Among those on the slate is Superman. In the initial stages, our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. Does that sound like he's calling Henry old?
Apparently. But also, I heard he confirmed that it wasn't a Smallville thing.
Right.
So we're talking Daily Planet reporter. So in that sense, like, are we really looking at a 20 Superman, and we're like, no, he's too buff. He's 40 at this point. No. We can't do this. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
It was
Apparently
weird when
we're starting early.
it was weird for me when Zach had Cavill playing like whatever it was, like 20-year-old
Yeah.
Clark Kent arguing with Paul in the truck. And I'm like, he's clearly like 35 here. Like, I don't understand what we're doing.
That scene is like he's a great actor, but he doesn't look the part at that point. No, we needed a 19-year-old for that. Oh.
To be fair, at the same time, I remember watching Dick Donner's 78 Superman and going like, this kid walking up to the freaking tundra does not look anything like Chris Reeve. And then he like comes out and in the suit, and I'm like, he got pretty real quick, like,
Yeah. It's hard to find young people who look like they're gonna look like Henry Cavill. I think that's just the entire problem. We have to recast because it's got to be someone, not that. Ugh, it's hard to find another.
That's the weird thing about this, though, is he says, Gunn says, among those on the slate of Superman in the initial stages, yeah,
that
our story is very specific and very...
So we're going to start young, but also, is there going to be a time jump then with a different actor playing an older Superman? Like, what kind of time frame are we even talking about?
Well, he says in the initial stages, our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill, but we just had a great meeting with Henry, and we're big fans, and we talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future.
Yeah.
What the hell is happening? And what it makes me think is that they are going to lean into the multiverse. And it makes me think Henry could come back as an older version of Superman in a separate universe, maybe in a TV series, maybe like in a crisis movie. We just don't know.
Yeah.
Like
in some project or some sort of, like, he's been sharing the Kingdom Come things. I remember you calling that out last episode, where it's like, there's a lot of Alex Ross. And I mean, I get it. It's pretty art, but it could be an older version. It could just be the version we know. It could be a lot of things, but it could also just be a different role, a different opportunity other than Superman, which is going to be weird. That would be cognitive dissonance. And the only reason I say that option is out there is because of the Jason Momoa rumors around Lobo, where it's like, if you're going to clean the slate, and I think if you're going to clear out Superman, I don't want you to go halfway, because the previous regime has been sort of wishy-washy, like, we want to replace Batman as Superman, but we want to keep the ones that make us money, because they're not as tainted in their eyes. And I'm like, no, either do a new universe and build that up so I can get invested in that one the way I already am in this one. Then you're going to lose Jason Momoa as Aquaman. But if he wants to come back as Lobo, which I think he would, then I'm saying he would like to. Not necessarily saying it's going to happen anytime soon, but that would be a resolution for the parties involved, where I'm like, I get that. This is amicable. And if there's something like that out there for Henry Cavill, wonderful. I'm not sure what you would cast him as, though, because the man is built to play Superman in every sense of the word.
Absolutely. Now, Gunn did say it is a movie. He is writing it and have been for a while. Like, we knew that he was offered Superman ages ago.
Yeah.
He doesn't know who's directing yet. They asked if it was an origin movie. He said no way. And they asked, could Ben Affleck direct? He says, met with Ben yesterday precisely because he wants to direct, and we want him to direct. We just have to find the right project. So not Superman.
No. But that's great news. Like, I'm if we're finally gonna get an Affleck directed, maybe even Batman movie, who the hell knows, that would be fucking lovely. I'm there for it.
And that's the thing, is like, if they could keep the DCEU or Snyderverse or whatever you want to call it, they could keep it around in some capacity from time to time and like throw it on HBO Max, or if no one's Zaslav, he'd probably want to like license it out to other people. But they could keep that around in some capacity and slowly build up Crisis.
Yeah.
Because if you're DC, number one, this is DC. So every 10 years, they're going to reboot anyway in the comics and everything else.
Yeah.
But if you want to do DC proper, like, I know Marvel has been doing it recently, but DC was the one that started the multiverse shit. So Crisis and all of the other like multiverse stories, like that's all like hyper time and all that stuff. What was the Grant Morrison Multiversity? Like that is all DC's up DC's ass, and James Gunn knows that.
Yeah, because I feel like he does have enough affection for the comics to be like, if he's gonna build to something, I feel like he's not gonna just leave those threads around and be like, no, we're not gonna honor the past. No, he has a bunch of movies, and they're already getting Keaton back for something, so they might as well, lean into a bit of the multiple Earths thing. But at the same time, like, yeah, you got to focus on one of the Earths, and it's got to be the one you care most about, and it's like the fun of things like all the other multiverse numbers we got in the Multiversity encyclopedia and stuff. Those things are fun because they're variants to an extent. So if you're gonna incorporate more of them, it shouldn't just be basically roughly the same characterization on a different Earth because it was a different actor and a different time. I feel like I would want then to have the new cast, which is inevitably going to happen, to play different versions of Superman on different Earths, basically, and of Batman and of Wonder Woman, or at the very least, like we've been hoping for years, if it's a different version, that's a different character. Like use the Thomas Wayne from your one Earth to play the one in your Flashpoint Earth, that type of stuff. Like I would want that sort of continuity where it's not, where it is easier to do that with Cavill as a way older Kingdom Come type Superman, where I'm like, yeah, I'm good with that, because you can sort of draw a line like, oh, he's gonna grow into that. But I wouldn't like it as much if it's just we're crossing over different franchises from different DC eras. That could just... I feel it's also just rehashing the hurt of this universe that was sort of scrambled. Because I feel the only reason I like the reboot idea is the getting to care about something else again. Because fixing the Snyderverse without Snyder and the original plan was just never gonna... That got us into this jumbled mess of, well, kind of, we'll keep some things, we'll change a bunch of them. That wasn't gonna please anyone. And at least this way you can build a fan base for the new shit, and you're gonna piss off people. Absolutely. I am not, like, this was not what I was hoping for.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
but I get it.
You listen to the show. Like, we honestly hoping that he restore it. The Snyderverse,
absolutely.
Like,
if he was gonna just fucking finish it off, get it out there, and then, we all know it was there was a finality to it. We all know it was 5 movies, roughly, some in between stuff, but like, it could have been done in a couple of years. If it was just the main installments, we'd have a reset button and you could do your reboot. But we're not going to get that. So, there's some mourning.
Like I said, we don't know if they if they went to Zach and they said, we do a miniseries, you get one shot, one season, can you wrap it?
That would be amazing.
I wonder if he would do it.
Me too. I don't know. But somehow I don't doubt his love for the cast and the world he built. So I never got the at least from his public statements, insofar as there are those, I never got the impression that he's opposed to getting into that conversation with WB.
Right. I mean, he was the
Gunn
one.
Is like, they're buddies, they're fine.
Yeah. Which I've seen a lot of people be like, oh yeah, see, this is what Snyder's best friend did. Ain't nobody said they were best friends, all right? Ain't nobody said that they were like calling each other on the weekends to talk about,
Did you read the comics this week? No. Yeah, like, they have jobs. They have lives.
but I think they are friends, and I think
they're on good terms.
not that the extremist cultists would ever admit to anything like this, but I think Snyder would probably just say like, no, you gotta shoot your shot. You're in charge now. You do it. Like, you're not beholden to anything I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. This is a guy that like said, dude, Matt Reeves' Batman looks cool. I'm there for it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So
now, of course, Matt Reeves' Batman, it seems a bit more up Snyder's alley just because of the tone. But I'd imagine James Gunn has his own plans for the grander universe, and if that doesn't fit in, I business wise, I get that you're not just gonna invest more in a universe you're gonna kill off. There's already a couple of projects where we're like, yeah, this is gonna fizzle out, I guess.
Maybe we like it's
we're
weird.
Not certain about anything, but
we're just not. Like, we don't know. Like, we've got a Shazam 2 coming. We've got The Flash. We've got Blue Beetle and Aquaman 2.
Yeah.
And The Flash could have a lot to do with just shifting the universe a bit. But we know
if they end on that, because right now I think Aquaman is the latest in the release schedule, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that would be an interesting movie to have to end on, or get in, or transition out of into whatever is next for Superman and the rest.
Quite frankly, and it might actually, God help us. As crazy as they went with Peacemaker Season 1, Gunn really could wrap up the universe with Peacemaker Season 2 and just have like some kind of crazy, like he could bring in Batmite or something crazy.
Be hilarious.
If you had John Cena like talking to Batmite and like trying to like, I don't know, like
just fifth dimension shit your way out of it.
Yeah, just trying to like get him to be like, look, I know, you don't have to like just end the universe.
I'll keep you around.
I mean, I know you're a big Batman fan. Yeah, and we haven't seen Ben in forever. Who's Ben? Batman. Yeah, keep up. Yeah, man. So that would actually be pretty fantastic if they had Batmite being like the Twitter fan who was like pissed off. It's like, amazing. Ben was supposed to have a cameo in Aquaman 2, and I didn't even see that. Like, it wasn't even there. and Peacemaker's just like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about.
That would be very, very funny. And I would respect that. I would respect the hell out of it. It would still be a weird way to, but it would acknowledge the weird of how this universe is gonna not continue.
Yeah,
because I can't imagine doing both, and I can't imagine having this around for too long while you're working on a Superman in an earlier stage of his career, where it's like, yeah, that's gotta mean a new universe, a DCU to get into. I like.
Oh, that you just came up with a tagline.
Universe and stuff where I'm like, yeah, you're gonna build that out. You're not gonna sort of merge it.
I think you just came up with a tagline. The DCU you can get into.
Call me.
Yeah, like,
call me.
Look, you look at the comics, you look at the animated series, you look at all this bullshit, and Batmite is a fourth wall character. Batmite knows that it's a movie. He knows that it's a comic. That's how they ended freaking Batman the Brave and the Bold, is like Batmite showed up and was like, I'm ready for more of a dark and gritty Batman now. We got to get this canceled.
Amazing. Yeah.
So, I'm down with it. Do I want Justice League 2 and 3 or some reasonable facsimile with Snyder at the helm? Yes, absolutely. Would I pay all the rubles to go see a Batfleck Deathstroke film? Yeah, I would.
Absolutely. But if that fits in a different universe and it's a different Batman, I can live with that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's places for all these actors to be reinstated in some other way. Like,
oh yeah, the legacy
casting. I'm sure
casting.
Manganiello will not say no to another role in the DC universe. The guy's a nerd.
Right.
He'll live.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? We kind of touched on it earlier, but that's a good point. I think Gunn is looking at a future slate and saying, I want to do this and this and this, but meanwhile, Snyder
Yeah.
Snyder did his vision, which is great, and I love it, but when you're looking at like a big like 10, 20 year, let's just say 10 year for what they're doing, what they're talking about doing right now, Ben Affleck is old as shit.
Yeah. He's a meme at this point. Yeah.
Like, he's just, I mean, he's built and whatnot, but he's old. Like, we're not going to have like a 60-year-old Ben Affleck. Like, I don't think he's got that much interest in him as far as like just him.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we have like a 70-year-old Michael Keaton trying to play Batman again, and we certainly could. Like, I think if Snyder did come back in some capacity at some point, I think Ben would come back for it probably. But, yeah, there was that. I love this. I love the transparency of Gunn. Like I've been saying, like, absolutely. This is absolutely what we would not have.
Exactly.
At least he's getting prior.
Like in front of it. Like he's getting ahead of this news cycle without hiding, essentially. Without not like the last regime just kind of never told us much of anything. So we were continuously guessing, and that very logically led to our conclusion that there was no plan in place, which really there wasn't anything good going on in terms of a plan. And at least now we're trying to roadmap something.
They had a slate, they had a good plan. When Snyder was still in charge, and they had, the Cyborg movie and the Flash movie and
3 regimes
all that
ago.
shit.
Wonderful. Oh.
Yeah. And then like they lost a few directors and didn't know what they wanted to do. And like, because immediately they were being reactionary and cutting everything apart. And have the trailer company edit your Suicide Squad movie. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we had a couple other things I wanted to bring up. And that is, that Variety article that was saying that they were considering bringing in Matt Reeves, the Batman, into the DC universe, main continuity. And Gunn refuted that immediately, said, there are a few reporters I love more than Adam B. Vary. He is truly a good guy, but in this case, he needs to get a new source, as this is entirely untrue. But, importantly, absolutely, I love that he was doing that. But my first thought was, this is a constant with Warner Brothers. There are he is a reporter. Like, there is somebody in DC who was telling him this shit, which just makes me think it's like a conspiracy inside of, like, there are people inside of WB trying to like bury Gunn. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get that. Yeah, because it is very much trying to like see what this will do in the media. Like, what will the response be from the audience? And let's put pressure on each other all the time that way. Because we're trained at this point to read every headline with A, what's in the article, and B, what ulterior motive could there have been to put this out or leak this, or who might have said something, and why. We're already guessing every time when it's like, this might have been their PR team to, put some pressure on their deal, and they want to get signed again, so they want to have some fan hype to back them up. And it's like, why is everything this sneaky? Why can't there indeed be someone like Gunn? Like, that's not what we're gonna do. And I feel like it's a shame, because they have something there with the Batman, but I'm also like, they need to wrap up that trilogy and then focus on their universe with whatever new Superman this is.
Yeah. I am open to whatever Matt Reeves wants to do. If he gets to, the Batman, and decides he wants Superman and Wonder Woman to show up, like, and whatever his version of those characters will be,
I doubt he will, but I'm sure.
I doubt it too.
He feels like a Nolan type. He feels like, I want to do my very contained.
He was mini Nolan. You could do seedy Superman.
Oh, absolutely. And I would be very intrigued to see it. But I feel like Reeves is also the guy who's like, a guy flying? Come on now. No. We have a guy in a squirrel suit. That is silly enough.
Right. You know what? I want to see Matt Reeves do Superman. And just because somewhere in my head, I'm like, oh, you thought You thought Snyder's Superman was dark.
Exactly. You called this shit depressing? No. I legitimately haven't rewatched the Batman in full yet. I have it on HBO Max sort of halfway where I was like, gosh, this is a long movie, and I already kind of know where it's going. So that one is much more dour than anything Snyder has put out in my personal opinion. But
yeah, Reeves would do like the Superman, and it would just like it would be like a loose interpretation of that comic from many years ago, where it was like the guy who was mentally challenged and living in a home and thought he was a superhero. And he called himself Superman, and it was like really sad.
I hate this.
That's what Reeves would do with Superman.
Oh, I can't disagree with you, but that's terrible. No, like I had an idea, and I do want to put that out there first. If we're gonna hold out any hope whatsoever for the Snyderverse, I feel like the best way to do that might be to sort of pull a fast one on us. So you build up a new universe, and like whatever crisis they're working towards, you combine them. You sort of you rework the time travel thing from Justice League 2 or 3. Where they go from the nightmare to the new universe you've built to get their help defeating Darkseid in the original Snyderverse. Now that would be something I want to read or watch or whatever. But also I feel like I now just ruined the emotional impact for myself in 10 years. Batfleck would be way geriatric for that. But, I'd like to see it. All of the stunts are not done by him anyway, so...
Right, no. So... They just have like a couple of shots of him looking angry in the suit, and then or like sitting in the tank and being like,
and then it's Richard Citrone
rubber
just
bullets,
doing
promise.
Weird stuff again and jumping up and down, punching people. Yeah, that's what you do. I'd be like if a portal opens up in the like if a boom tube just shows up and you're like, haven't seen those in a while. That would make me cry at that point. And that was just sort of the feeling, the idea I had to share. But I doubt it at this point. It's just they're gonna want to do something their own and not try to mishmash their way through a bunch of old stuff that really didn't satisfy anyone because they fucked it up. And some people are like, well, then show us the actual good idea. And some people are like, yeah, that was never a good idea. And those people are wrong. But there's so few ways to solve this mess in a way that's still coherent. Whereas like, of course I get it as a creative that you're like, I just wanna do it now. I just want to do something else. I don't want to try and glue this bunch of shards together into a vase again and hope it doesn't turn out to be an ashtray.
Yeah. I mean, there's really not a lot to say about it. I mean, like, Patty Jenkins came out and said, I never walked away from Wonder Woman 3. I was open to considering anything asked of me. It was my understanding there was nothing I could do to move anything forward at this time. DC is obviously burdened in changes they are having to make, so I understand these decisions are difficult right now. And then Gunn said, I can attest that all of Peter and my interactions with you were only pleasant and professional, which is to say that I personally believe, me, David, I believe she absolutely did have a little shitstorm walk off with Abdi and DeLuca, and I am almost 80% certain she did send them that email with the link to character arc on Wikipedia.
She was not happy. I'm pretty sure she wasn't. Also there was a sentence like in the third paragraph or something. I don't know if you have it in front of you, where she'd hate to end on a down note or something. Yeah. And I was like, did you watch your most recent Wonder Woman movie?
Yeah,
because that felt like a down note to me.
Look, okay, I love the Snyderverse. I don't even acknowledge that Wonder Woman 1984 happened.
It doesn't.
I did not purchase it.
It doesn't exist.
I do not own a copy of that movie, neither on digital nor on physical. That hurts me in some ways, but I just can't acknowledge it as an actual film. It was awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
I think no, it's just on my wish list. It's not on my actual shelf.
I was wondering
no
what
one
you were
has
doing.
seen my wish list and been like, let's give her that for Christmas.
Yeah, I can see Effie on my monitor, and she's just turned and she's just looking in another direction. And I'm like, is it a ghost? What is happening?
No, that's the DC shelf with all of the movies.
Gotcha.
And like up to the Suicide Squad, it seems. And
yeah. So, and that's the other thing is like the Suicide Squad. You would think to me, like some of this doesn't make sense to me because to me, I would be like, he clearly liked the universe enough to like want to be a part of it and do, because they told him he could do anything, and he chose to do something in universe.
Yeah.
And then doubled down on that with Peacemaker. So
we're not sure how anything was, like how limitless that was. Like if he'd said, I want to reboot the universe at that stage, I think he might have gotten some pushback to be like, okay, but what characters and how could you incorporate them in this one?
Well, I don't know, because I seem to recall that he said they did not tell him it had to be inside of any given universe. He could have just made his own Suicide Squad movie and
could have gone
whatever.
The Batman with it. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he's James Gunn. Of course he could.
Yeah.
Even at that time.
But he couldn't have gone grand plan on it. He could have tried, but it wouldn't have immediately gotten there. Yeah. They would have meddled with him a lot more than now that he's in the actual seat.
Yeah.
We'll cut out the yawn.
So I'll yeah, no. No, I won't.
We're too tired to cut out the yawn. Oh well. I hope you enjoyed it.
I'll reiterate though, as I guess it feels like we're kind of wrapping up, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's only so much to say. Because it is a bit of wait and see. It's just nice to have the early announcement in the sense that we can already say our goodbyes. I'm probably gonna watch the quote unquote trilogy today just to relive some moments and yeah, sort of grieve a bit in advance to hopefully be excited for a new slate once it is announced.
Yeah, like my office is a shrine to all things DC, but when I walk in, it's like my top 3 versions of these characters I've gotten action figures across, on the wall here. It's like Batman 66, Zack Snyder's Justice League and that canon, and then Batman the Animated Series and that canon. And I like walk in, I see that, and then I turn and there's like my Square Enix 10-inch Batfleck and Cavill. And I was just like, this is depressing. Like, I've got to leave my office now.
Yeah.
Like,
I get that.
Because part of me does feel like they're going to completely reboot. I mean, part of me feels like that doesn't make sense for what you've already built, James. And then another part of me thinks like, yeah, but you can also scrap the shit you've already made and do something else. But it also might make sense to do both. And I think,
as long as there's some closure somewhere.
My opinion is that that's what they'll wind up doing overall. Like, that there will be a crisis, or Kingdom Come, or something. We can call it whatever you want, and we will wind up seeing Cavill in some capacity. Maybe he's just Clark.
No.
Maybe he's maybe it's like the Tom Welling Superman or Clark on Crisis on. Another beloved Superman who quit being Superman. It
could go a number of ways, and yet I feel like you want that one in 5 or 10 years. You want that to be a cheer moment, and not to feel like, we got scraps. You don't want to still be reminded of, you left that universe in the dirt and didn't really wrap anything up. I feel like you want to get ahead of that by sort of giving it that farewell that makes us slightly less, hurt. Wounded is really only the only way I can describe it. Because if the universe ended here with the cameo in Black Adam, I would be far more than knowing we're still getting the Flash or Aquaman.
Yeah, I just had an idea.
Mm-hmm.
He does. James says among those is Superman. In the initial stages, our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life. Who else are they calling Superman right now in the DC comics? John Kent.
Right.
As we leave Zack Snyder's Justice League, Lois is pregnant.
Oh my god.
So if they have Cavill come back as Superman, but he's not Superman anymore, he's just John's dad who's like teaching him how to be a hero.
Really?
This is all conjecture.
Yeah, no, that but at the same time, if you're gonna then age up Clark, what do you do with everyone else?
You don't have to age up Clark.
Yeah,
you
no,
don't,
but like,
because he's Superman. You could just be like,
that's fair.
He looks the same.
That's fair. But I mean, then if you're gonna time jump essentially to where John is late teens, early 20s, Gal doesn't age, sure. Does Aquaman age? Flash certainly does, sorta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if he's off in the multiverse somewhere, we don't even know where he's
true.
at, you know.
Nobody knows what Ezra's doing anyway.
I'm just saying, there are ways, and if there's anyone who's smart enough in comic book lore to do it, it is Gunn. I think
he'll find
if he
some way. That's true.
Yeah. If he really wants to, he'll find a way. But at the same time, these characters are bigger than the actors. Yeah. The lore is bigger than any person's vision. So I am still interested to see what's happening. And honestly, I hope we get some news on the slate, and I hope that there is a reason for us to be excited about these upcoming DC movies.
Exactly,
because I don't want to go a whole year.
That
I don't want to go a whole year being annoyed.
Yeah,
and just being like, I don't give a shit about this now.
That's the tiresome part, where it's like, yeah, if there wasn't something pre-established, I wouldn't have to be mad about this. I would just be like, oh my god, they're building a new universe. Wonderful. But this didn't happen 10 years ago. This happened now. And we have 10 years of movies to sort of do something with.
Yeah. So like, I hope, I hope for the best, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Thy will be done. Lord and Savior, James Gunn. Or whoever.
I'm sure his ego will appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, a reboot would make sense in certain senses, but then again, I feel like this whole next year is going to be like, if they wiped the slate clean completely, it wouldn't make sense. Yeah. So I don't know, but you know, they haven't done what I thought would make sense in the first place. But I did say, and you might remember, if they never do Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3 or mess with that again, we'll know whether we get the numbers or not that it didn't make money. because of David Zaslav and how much of an asshole he is.
Yeah, but also I would trust that right now. But given the previous heads and their track record, I feel like even if it was the most glorious of successes, they still tried to bury that shit hard because they had other plans that they didn't want to share the spotlight.
Yeah.
So I still feel like there's numbers there that we'll just never know because they don't want us to know that we were successful.
Mm-hmm. No, naturally. Yeah. Emmerich and, well...
Because at this point, I feel like Zaslav is just going off the equation of, I think there's more money in building a new universe from scratch with Gunn at the helm than rehashing this one for only 2 movies that might be profitable and then nothing, and then doing the same amount of work that we can just do now. I feel like that is more where Zaslav is like, financially this makes sense.
Yeah, I think he wants everything, and you know, as Black Adam just showed him, he can't have it. Even if they made 50 to 70 million like Rock claims, that's still not a lot.
No, it's barely clawing your way through. It's not Marvel numbers. Of course, all the movies are struggling currently, but you're not making a random A24 movie. You're making a comic book blockbuster, and you want those results because it is a business. And I feel like I'm like, just the concept of crossing everything over again with TV and animation. That's exciting. That will be fun. And of course, Marvel's been doing it for a while, but I want something good. I want that shit to be good in DC as well. And having more content is always a bonus. Because at that point, I won't be as mad if something's because there'll be something new next time.
Yeah, you say that, but where are you at on your CW rewatch? or your CW Watch. I mean, like, you had plenty of content there, but
Yeah.
a lot of it is just absolute dog shit. So
Yeah, there's a difference between occasionally something is and all of it is dog shit. Which not all of it is, of course, but like the current stuff outside of Superman and Lois, which is outside of the universe somehow with that Diggle. Anyways,
Hey, but it's the best thing CW has done in forever.
Exactly.
It's so good.
I will catch up with that first, probably. But yeah, after I finish Wednesday.
Like I said, we don't know what they're doing exactly. We don't know what Gunn is doing. Snyderverse fans, I implore you, as someone who wants to see all of the Snyderverse things be realized, please don't attack James Gunn. That's not going to help our case in any way.
Nope.
And
because I've seen some replies to the tweets where it's definitely like, oh, let's rehash the offensive tweets, and like, yeah, those tweets were tasteless. There's some slurs in there that personally affect me, and I'm like, nope, not a fan of this. But he was in a different time, being young, making bad jokes. I'm not gonna hold that against the guy forever. Like, yeah, he was a dick. I was a dick 10 years ago. Don't.
I was a dick 10 minutes ago. I don't.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, people screw up. People say stupid shit, and then you gotta move on. That doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person.
No.
That's fine.
What was I gonna say? In some ways, I would rather that the Snyderverse be kept intact and have those 3 Snyder movies than them tinker with the same universe and actors until it just gets worse and worse and worse. Because I feel like, at some point you're going to hand over the reins to like what you've built and blah, 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 but he's no longer involved in any way. So there's no handing over of reins. There's just people taking his shit and running with it. And in some ways, I'm like, yeah, I'd rather get invested in a new Superman, hopefully the movie's good, than having to watch Cavill do something that doesn't feel like the same Superman to me.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Like, I agree. I feel like there is something where it's like, if the way he keeps talking about initial plans, I feel like he's just like, I want to get our slate started and the DC universe started,
and be flexible, and then down the road, and
then we can like look into other things,
once we get
as we move on, right? Because they all know that there's absolutely a market for the rest of the Snyderverse to be made, and if James Gunn has already, like, without being in charge, has already talked to Marvel and Kevin Feige about doing a Marvel versus DC movie, he's already thinking about Crisis. He's thinking about that.
Of course. I would be too if I got handed the job. I would be like, okay, what kind of Crisis are we building to? What will be the huge event in 5 years?
That's the first thing you think of.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'd probably build to Identity Crisis first. That's probably what I would do. And I would probably start not with it, because this is me. I'm crazy. The first thing I would do, an adaptation of New Frontier.
Ah, right.
It would be History of the Universe. No solo films, History of the Universe.
Yeah, just like what went before, what JSA stuff. Like you want to get caught up and then build to something from there. So it's intriguing.
Which, by the way, also, Darwin did the best version of Batman versus Superman. So, and I would love to be able to help out Darwin's family.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, we don't know what's happening, but I think it's best if we all keep calm heads and not get settled down with our sadness, because it might not be something wonderful could come from this.
Yeah, and and to me it is more sadness than the outrage I've been seeing, and I feel like that might be my personality, but still, it's something some people might be wise to take a page out of my book from. Like, it's just, come on. It's no use being mad about it. It's just what's going to happen. It's what the business is going to do. And hopefully it will be good and it will be fun and it will not be unfunny. And that is the best we can hope for. And we have something to look forward to in the next year. And we'll see.
And I still plead. I'm not saying don't do the hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Just do it respectfully.
Yeah. Just, don't be a dick about it. And absolutely, I want them to still release the Ayer cut. That's some form of closure of like, this is what we were actually doing at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. So
would be neat.
Anyway, I think that's going to put this one in the books. What do you think?
I'd agree.
You're co-host on this episode. You get to say.
Yeah, no, I think I have got everything out of my system that I really needed to. I think I just want to get back to either watching the movie or putting on the soundtrack. And like, that's my only demand for a new Superman movie. They have to give me something at least half as good as the Zimmer score. That's all I ask. If they don't do that, I will be slightly disappointed.
I don't know what that would sound like. And my guess is it's probably just going to be the John Williams score.
Yeah, God.
Based on...
they're gonna chicken out and do that, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, they will. I think so. I'm so sorry to end it on this note, but that's what they're going to do.
You could have ended it on 3 notes, but no. I had to end it on this one. On a march. Yep. Anyway.
All right. That's fine. Thank you for listening. I hope we helped you through some of this difficult time. We're still getting used to the James Gunn of it all, so I don't know how many more emergency episodes I'm going to keep doing. We'll get used to it eventually, and we'll just be like, it'll wait until Sunday. Effie, thank you so much for suggesting this episode. I was already wondering if I should do it, and then you said I'll hop on if you do an emergency episode.
Felt like a good excuse to call in.
Yeah. Tell the folks where they can find you online. Are you plugging anything these days?
Yeah. Well, there's still the archives of Stealing the Remote. It's not very active right now, or in the near future, as far as I know. But as long as I haven't found an alternative bird app to the one currently run by some malevolent billionaire, I am on Twitter. It's in Effie Shinsi, so in Effie with an extra E. Shinsi, and the same goes for Letterboxd. That one is hopefully more stable, not run by a malevolent billionaire, as far as I'm aware.
They all are.
I'm sure. I'm sure. There's no such thing as a benevolent billionaire, but a less malevolent billionaire, I assume.
Right, like Batman.
Right. Sure, we'll go with that.
And you can find me at David C. Robertson on Twitter. And if you have feedback that may potentially show up in a future episode, you can hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at DC On Screen. You can go to dconscreen@gmail.com, send us something there, or patreon.com/DCOnScreen. And we're also on Facebook. All right, until next time, keep some DC on your screen.
Bye.
Our intro music is by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford. Michael's band, Galactic Engineers of Magnetic Sounds, or GEMS, can be found on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Visit DCOnScreen.com to find our Patreon, merch, contact information, and every episode of the show for free, including crossovers we've done with other podcasts. DC On Screen is a maladjusted production. For more from me and Jason, including sketch comedy, vlogs, parodies, and our improvised web series Hey Guy, visit maladjusted.tv.